Grow your practice, grow your wealth, grow your impact. Find out how to spend less time in the dental chair and more time on the things you love.
Welcome back to the Dental Wealth Podcast. I'm glad to have you back. Wanted to talk to you about what I think is one of the greatest limiting factors in success in dentistry and in most professions, to be completely honest with you, and most businesses. And I call it the ceiling of conformity. And I kind of coined this because as somebody who's constantly in this zone of personal and development and wealth development, and I've had the privilege of working with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dentists and business owners, and I kind of see this pattern that is so prevalent, and it happens with not only the doctors, but it happens with the teams, and it happens with families. It happens all the time. And what it is this idea of ceiling of conformity. And you got to kind of, a podcast, it's hard to see, but imagine there's a ceiling. And what ends up happening is that every time you try to break through, every time you try to get through that ceiling, somebody in your circle pushes you back down and tries to bring you back down to where they are. See, now that's not a new concept, but this idea of that doctors tend to hang out with doctors who do the same revenue as them. And if you start thinking about the doctors, right, they say that your income is a combination of, right, some multiple of people that you hang out with in the same circle. Whether that's true or not, I kind of think that it kind of leans towards it. And because of the ceiling of conformity, it almost proves it. Think about who you hang out with, right? If you're a business owner, so you're a dentist, and you start thinking about the practice owners that you hang out with. Are you spending time with people that are doing $5 million in revenue, or are you hanging out with people that are doing $1 million in revenue? If you're doing $5 million in revenue, do you hang out with people that are doing $10 million in revenue? And what ends up happening is I truly believe this, and I'm an overly optimistic person, but on this one, I think I'm a realist and not an idealist in nature, because I believe that everybody wants to see people do well. Like, I really believe that people want to see you do well, and they want to see you be successful in the world. Just not more successful than them. Just not more successful than them. They don't want to see you beat them. And guys, we can all relate to this. I mean, we've all seen people in our lives that start to pass where we're at, and we starts to kind of feel some insecurity, and we might be glad for them that they're moving forward, but we don't want to be left behind. And I think that people in your circle want to keep you there. And so what ends up happening is when you start talking to doctors that are in your, and I'm using $1 million revenue just as a number to throw out there. It could be $1.5 million. It could be 2.5. It could be 20. I mean, it doesn't matter. The idea is that you stay in your circle of people, and they're all having the same conversations. They have the same problems. They have the same struggles, and they don't know how to get out of it either. So then you go bring in a consultant. You say, well, I'll go get a consultant and I'll figure this out. Well, the consultant you bring in usually, well, they're coaching doctors doing $1 million in revenue. So like they're stuck. And so this whole idea is you've got this circle of people in your life that aren't big thinkers. I mean, when was the last time you sit down with a dental office and the owner said, I'm going to take this thing to $30 million? Like, I don't want to challenge you with that. When was the last time you sat down with a dental business owner and they looked at you and said, I'm going to take this thing to $30 million, $50 million? Why not? See, if you think about this idea, and then the ceiling of conformity comes in, because as soon as you start thinking, I'm going to break out. I'm going to go build a $5 million practice or a $10 million practice, wherever your ceiling is. Then The people in your influence will tell you quickly that will never what? It'll never work. You can't do that. And so what ends up happening is we start asking people's opinions, whether it be our supply rep, whether it be a consultant, whether it be our peers. And so they all start telling us the exact same thing, that this won't work and this won't work and that won't work. And we solicit opinions of people that are under our ceiling of conformity. And so they all want to, in a sense, push us back down. Now, I'm not saying people don't want to see you be successful. I am not saying people do not want to see you be successful. I'm saying that they don't want to see you be more successful than them. And you'll find that people naturally push you back down. And guys, it could be the same with anything else. It could be the person who loses 20 pounds and the first thing that they do is their friends tell them, hey, now you can have, right, a bacon double cheeseburger because, hey, just do it in moderation, they'll say. It's like, no, the bacon double cheeseburger is what got me to this place. It's like you've got to constantly have your guard up. You have to cover your cup and make sure nobody puts anything in it. You got to make sure, right? You have to be on guard because understanding that people are trying to push you down. And I am an optimistic person. I'm an idealist by nature, but I'm going to tell you that is the realistic point of view. And I would challenge you to go find people that are way outside of your ceiling. Go find people that are outside of your circle. Don't hang out with the same 5 people that have been telling you the same things. If your accountant's business is the same revenue as yours, why would you take business advice from the person? I remember, I'll never forget this. It was probably about 5 years ago. I was spending some time with a cardiologist, and we were looking through his business plan, and he'd come to me because his business, which started in the 1970s, had in the early to mid 80s hit a very high point in revenue. And then slowly that revenue went down to the point where he had come to me and the business was basically done. And which is not, by the way, the ideal time, right? The ideal time to hire somebody is when you're doing well, actually. It's people think you hire somebody on when you're doing poorly. No, you bring them on when you're doing well and you're looking for more ideas, right? To continue to push the sigmoid curve. But he brought me on at this point and I said, where do you get your business advice from? And he started telling me that he and this accountant, that it was his friend, that they grew their businesses together and then declined together. Like, I wouldn't want to be in that boat. How many of you are in that boat? How many of you are riding the same boat? And some of you listening to this think, well, I have a successful business. I still would question the boat you're in because I would still argue that maybe the boat you're in isn't actually reaching its potential. Maybe that boat is going in circles. Look, when someone tells me that they've only done $2 million over a 35-year business, I'm telling you that business has not even come close to hitting potential. And the reason it hasn't hit its potential is literally what's in between your ears, and but it's bigger than that. It's the people that are in your circle that keep telling you that that's what a dental practice should max out at. It's the friends telling you not to get an associate because you don't want an associate. You know what pain in the butt that is, and you've got to deal with contracts, and what if they leave? And like, you're letting that person give you tips on hiring. And the same happens. Excuse me. The same thing happens with our teams. Like, the same thing happens with our teams. They end up in the same circle and they have the same ceiling of conformity, right? We don't want to end up in that boat. And if you're going to guide people, if you're going to lead people as a business leader, then you got to break through that ceiling. You got to break through. And the way to break through is to find people who have broken through. Find the people that are on the other side. It's like this. Imagine if you came across this river and the river's raging, and you were on one side and there was 20 people with you, and on the other side were another 20 people who had gotten over the river, who would you ask how to get over the river? The ones on the other side or the ones on the same side with you? One of the reasons I created Tower Leadership is because I want to create, right, the path to show people what's on the other side. And when you have to break through this ceiling and realize, now, by the way, who's on your side of this river, right? Who's on your side? You'd be surprised how many times your parents are on that side, or your spouse is on that side, or your friends are on that side. Believe it or not, it's sometimes the people that are closest to you in your life that'll hold you back. It doesn't mean they don't love you, but you'd be surprised at the people. I'm constantly taken back. I'm constantly taken back by people in my life, people I love and that I believe love me, that constantly push me down and try to say things to push me down. Now, anyone who's been around me realizes I'm a high achiever and I'm always trying to create new avenues for growth. But at every turn, there's often someone trying to push me back in the river. Are there people trying to push you back in the river? And it might be comfortable to be on your side. Sometimes it's comfortable to be on your side of the river, and those are friends you can have and hang out with and spend time with. And so we tend not to cross the river because we don't want to be on the other side by ourselves. But this is a conversation and a podcast about achieving wealth and accomplishment. I would ask the people that got to the other side how they got there. So what I challenge you to do, if we're going to build wealth, remember, wealth is a lot of different things. What are you going to do? What can you take and put in place in your practice? Like what idea do you need to get? What gets you on the other side of the river? I'm telling you, one of the reasons why your practice doesn't double in revenue is because you take advice from people who are on your side of the river. And they tell you it can't be done. One of the reasons why your practice doesn't quadruple. One of the reasons why it doesn't quintuple. One of the reasons why it's not 20, 30 million. Could you have a $30 million practice? Absolutely. Now that might sound, some of you listening to this think, well, that's absurd. Now you might not want a $20 million practice, by the way. Don't miss the forest for the trees. That's not the point. The point is that when you go to raise up, when you go to become better, oftentimes you're going to be challenged, and you're going to be challenged by the people that are closest to you in your life. And you've got a decision to make when you get there. Do you want to break through, or do you want to fall back? And then I would go out and I would find people that have gotten to the other side. Quit asking people in the same boat the same question. Go find the other people. Go ask someone who's built a $20 million practice or a $5 million practice how they got there. If you were overweight, would you ask the overweight guy next to you for a piece of advice how to lose weight? Or would you go ask the person who's in phenomenal shape how they got there? Some of you are asking the heavy person when you're heavy how to get healthy. And believe it or not, this is one of the greatest things that's holding you back. In all the years I've been doing this, it's so obvious to me. And you see it every day. It's like one of the things that happens when you're in the zone, right, is that you're up against the wall. And because you're up against the wall, you can't see what's actually happening. Like, right, your face is right up against the wall. But see, me, I get to see the 10,000 foot view. I get to see you from afar. And when I look at it, it's so easy to how to fix your practice. It's so easy how to fix your personal life. It's so easy to do these things because I can see it clear as day. You got to ask a better question, a better person. Look for more solutions, right? Some of you are looking for more problems. I mean, it sounds absurd, but it's true, right? If I ask enough people, I will promise you I will get more problems, right? They will tell me all the problems with anything I'm trying to accomplish. I'll end up with problems I didn't even know I had. How many of you have asked a question of your peers in the dental industry and ended up with problems you didn't even know you had? That's a shame. I feel sometimes dental groups get together and then they create more problems. I want to see you reach your potential. Whatever that goal is, I would set a strong goal and then I would surround myself. I have a person, a dentist actually, who's become a very good friend of mine, very, very high achieving dentist, and started off as one of my clients and has become a very good friend. We sat down in January and we wrote a list of 5 people that we just wanted to meet before the end of the year. People of influence. I'm talking about big names that we thought would help us in our quest to get better, right? I'm talking about these are big names. Not in the dental. They were all outside the dental world because we were looking for people, right, who had bigger ideas. Hey, Eric Morin is a big thinker. But there's other big thinkers and people that think even bigger. I want to grow my sphere, right? I want to grow the people that I'm spending time with. And so I think it's one of the greatest things that's holding you back. And it's one of those things where you think it's your team, and it's not. It's you. It's just like the same problem the other day. I had a doctor who was talking to one of our trainers and was talking about the fact that she was struggling because she had a few people, that left at the same time as she was improving the business. By the way, when you improve things, sometimes people that don't want to grow, same thing, see the conformity. When you start to grow the ceiling in the organization, some people don't want to grow. I want you to hear that again. When you raise the ceiling in the organization, some people will not want to grow. Because if you don't raise it, the really good people will leave too, right? I mean, if you don't raise the ability to grow and to reach your potential, people who are growth oriented will leave the organization. So you got to make a decision. Do you want to grow, right? And help the people who want to do amazing things, or do you want to stay the same and help the people who don't want to do anything? And so one doctor looks at the same problem, goes, oh my gosh, how am I going to handle this? The world's falling, the sky's falling, I've got multiple people leaving, which by the way is normal if you're trying to grow an organization. And another doctor I talked to 2 days later who says to me, oh my gosh, no big deal. Yeah, it happens, whatever. Right? I mean, completely different. I mean, one literally has, multiple locations, right? More team members than you can, and looks at the same problem and doesn't think twice about it. The other one lets it completely affect him. And I tell you the difference is their mindsets. Believe it or not, it's the same problem. It's just different mindsets. One has grown so much that doesn't bother him anymore. The other person hasn't grown enough, so they feel like that's the weight of the world. And then they go ask all their friends who go, oh my gosh, isn't that the worst? Isn't that the worst? Oh my gosh, people these days, kids these days, right? You want to sound old really quick, just say kids these days, right? And so, right, if I hear one more person say millennials are lazy, I'm going to, no, some people are lazy and some people are not. Okay, and so this idea of like that can even happen in that simple of an example. And so if you're thinking that you're the doctor who a few things happen in the team and you panic, that's a great indication that you probably need to grow your circle. And when you do, you're going to hit a ceiling of conformity. And when those comments start to fly at you, you need to be able to push them back down. And you need to realize that to get to the next level, you've got to push through those comments. You've got to leave some relationships possibly behind. and you got to hang out with people that are moving in an entire different area. Do that. I'm telling you, fix what's going on between your ears sometimes, being able to push out the noise, and you'd be surprised what it can do for both your practice, your life, and your family. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys have a great week.